Welcome to my channel. Have you ever studied English for hours, but still made the same small mistakes again and again? You're not alone. I made them too, every day, for years. But one day, I looked closely, and I saw something. These mistakes were not random. They had a pattern. And once I saw that pattern, everything changed. In this video, I'll take you through my real journey, how I found and fixed the 5 biggest English mistakes that were slowing me down. Not with grammar books, not with hard rules, but with small, simple shifts. If you're tired of making the same mistakes, stay with me. This story could be your turning point. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Saying he go and she have. Why one small word changes everything. I remember the moment clearly. I was walking with a friend after class. We were talking about people we knew. I wanted to tell him something simple. I said, "She have a car." He paused, smiled, and gently said, "She has a car." That moment stayed with me. I felt a little embarrassed. I had learned this rule before, many times. I had read it in my grammar books. He, she, it, add s. I knew it in my head, but I didn't use it when I spoke. And that made me feel something strange, like I was close to being right, but not quite there. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why did I say she have instead of she has? It wasn't because I didn't know the rule. It was because I didn't feel it. I had studied grammar, but I hadn't made the rhythm a part of me yet. That's when I realized something important. Knowing the rule is not the same as using the rule. And this mistake, this small missing S, was showing up again and again in my English. I started paying more attention. I watched an interview on YouTube. The speaker said, he goes to work early. That little S at the end, goes, suddenly sounded clear, strong, natural. Then I watched a movie. Someone said, she works at the hospital. Again, the S was there. I opened a book. The dog runs fast. Another S. It was everywhere, and I had missed it before. Not because I was careless, but because I wasn't listening in the right way. So I made a plan, a small one. I chose 5 simple verbs: go, have, work, live, eat, and every day I made a sentence with he, she, or it. She goes to school. He has a bike. It eats slowly. At first, it felt strange, like I was acting, like I was trying too hard. But after a few days, something started to change. My mouth got used to the sound. My ears caught the difference. My brain didn't have to stop and think. It just knew what felt right. One of the biggest things that helped me was shadowing. I found short English videos, interviews, vlogs, even cartoons. I played one sentence, paused, repeated. I didn't just repeat the words. I copied the voice, the music, the feeling. She walks to work. I said it with the same rhythm. He drinks coffee in the morning. Again, I followed the flow. Slowly, my own voice began to change. Not my accent, not my speed, but my patterns, my structure. That little S started to appear without me thinking about it. Then something beautiful happened. I was having tea with a teacher. We were talking about our routines. I said, "She wakes up early." He nodded and said, "Your English is getting better." Just like that. A short sentence, but it felt like a medal. I didn't win a test. I didn't get a certificate. I just used a simple sentence the right way, and someone noticed. That moment was a top moment for me, not because I spoke perfectly, but because I felt the difference inside. Before, I was afraid of making mistakes. Now, I was proud of small progress. I understood something powerful. One small letter can change how people hear you. He go sounds incomplete, but he goes. It sounds like you understand, like you belong. I used to think I had bad grammar, but it wasn't my whole grammar. It was just one small detail. One S at the end of a verb. That tiny letter carried weight, meaning, clarity, and when I gave it attention, it gave me confidence. So if you've ever said, "She have a cat," or "He go to school," please don't feel bad. You are not broken. You are just one small step away from stronger English. Try this. For 1 week, make one sentence a day with he, she, or it. Say it slowly. Say it clearly. Feel the S at the end. Make it your friend. Over time, you won't just know the rule, you'll feel it. And when you feel it, you'll use it, without stress, without doubt. Mistakes are not always big things. Sometimes they are small, quiet habits. But if we shine a light on them, they become our teachers, our tools, and when we fix them, not with fear, but with curiosity, we grow. Chapter 2. The ed that disappeared, fixing past tense confusion. It happened during a simple conversation. My teacher asked, "What did you do yesterday?" I smiled and said proudly, "Yesterday I watched a movie." She smiled back, kind and calm, and gently said, "You mean watched." I paused. My smile stayed, but inside I felt something, a small sting. I knew the past tense rule. I had studied it many times, but somehow, in that moment, it slipped away. I said watch instead of watched. One small sound, one tiny piece missing, but it made my sentence feel unfinished. That night, I kept thinking about it. Why did I forget the ed ending? I knew the past form of watch was watched. It was in my notes, in my books, in every exercise I had done. But when I spoke naturally, the ed disappeared. I realized I was not alone. Many learners do this, skip the ed sound when speaking, not because they don't know it, but because the sound is soft, quick, and sometimes even hard to hear. I started listening more carefully. I played English videos with subtitles. I listened for past tense verbs, and something surprised me. Even native speakers made the ed sound so soft that it almost disappeared. Watched sounded like watch. Talked sounded like talk. But they were not wrong. The sound was still there, just smaller, faster, part of the rhythm. And if I didn't train my ear to hear it, I would always miss it. So I made a new plan. I chose 10 common past tense verbs: walked, talked, watched, played, cleaned, finished, cooked, worked, opened, closed. Every day I picked 3. I said them out loud, slowly, clearly, over and over. I walked. I talked. I finished. I said them while brushing my teeth, while walking to class, while waiting for the bus. I didn't care if people looked at me. I just wanted my mouth to remember the sound. It wasn't easy at first. My tongue felt lazy. My voice wanted to rush. Sometimes I forgot the ed again, but I kept going. I whispered to myself, watched, watched, watched. I said it in stories. Yesterday I watched a movie. Then I cooked dinner. After that I cleaned my room. These small sentences became my daily practice. One day, something changed. I was talking to a friend. I said, I walked to school this morning. He nodded and kept talking. He didn't correct me. He didn't pause. He just accepted it. And that felt amazing, because it meant I said it right, without thinking, without stopping, just naturally. That was my spike moment. I had practiced so many times that the ed sound finally became part of my speaking. It was no longer something I had to remember. It was something my mouth just did. And with that one small change, I felt something powerful. Confidence. Before, I was afraid of being corrected. I hated that small feeling when someone says, "You mean watched." But now I wanted to get it right. Not because I wanted to be perfect, but because I wanted to be clear. I wanted my listener to understand that the action was in the past. And that one small sound, the dash ed, was the signal. There's another thing I noticed. The more clearly I spoke, the more people listened. When I rushed, I made more mistakes. But when I slowed down, even just a little, my grammar got better. My sentences felt stronger, and my fear started to shrink. So if you've ever said, "Yesterday I cooked dinner," or "Last week I visit my uncle," please know, this is normal. Many learners forget the ed when speaking fast, but you can fix it. Not by learning more rules, but by practicing with your voice. Say the words out loud, again and again, until your mouth remembers, until your ear hears the difference, until watch becomes watched without effort. I still make mistakes sometimes. I still say play when I mean played. But now I catch myself. I smile, I fix it, and I move on. Because now I know small sounds carry big meaning, and one soft ed can turn a sentence from confusing to clear. Your voice doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be understood. So speak slowly, practice clearly, and give that little ed the space it needs. It may be small, but it matters. Chapter 3. Confusing I'm with my. The sentence that made me freeze. I still remember the moment clearly. It was a small group conversation. We were sitting in a circle, just sharing about ourselves. Someone turned to me and asked, "Can you tell us about yourself?" I nodded, took a breath, and said, "Maya student." Then I stopped, right there. My mouth closed. My face felt warm. I knew something was wrong. I could hear it in my own voice. It didn't sound right, but I couldn't fix it. I didn't know how. I smiled nervously and looked down. The moment passed, but the feeling stayed. That one sentence, my student, taught me something big. A tiny mistake can make your confidence stop like a red light. I knew the word my. I knew the word I'm. But in that moment, I didn't know which one I needed. And that mix-up made me freeze. Not because I didn't have vocabulary, but because I didn't know how to use it clearly. Later that day, I went home and wrote both words on a piece of paper. I looked at them for a long time. I asked myself, what is the difference between I'm and my? And then I started looking for examples. I found some simple ones. I'm tired. I'm ready. I'm a student. These were about me, what I am, how I feel, who I am. I'm means I am. Then I looked at my. I found these. My name is Ali. My book is red. My phone is new. These were about the things I own. My means something belongs to me. Suddenly it became a little clearer. I'm is about me. My is about something that's mine. I made 2 lists. I practiced saying both out loud. First, I stood in front of the mirror. I said, I'm tired. Then, my shoes are black. Then, I'm happy. And, my teacher is kind. The more I said it, the more I started to feel the difference. At first, I still mixed them up. I would say, my happy or I'm bag. But every time I made a mistake, I smiled. I didn't feel shame anymore. I felt curious. I was learning. And that feeling was better than fear. Then one day, something beautiful happened. I was introducing myself to a new group. Someone asked, "What do you do?" This time, I didn't pause. I smiled and said, "I'm a teacher. My name is Laura." That was it. A short sentence, simple, clear. But inside me, it felt like I had climbed a mountain. I didn't freeze. I didn't guess. I knew what to say, and I said it. That was my spike moment. It wasn't about fancy words or long answers. It was about getting one small thing right. I'm a teacher. My name is Laura. That moment made me feel strong. It made me feel understood. And that feeling that I could express myself without fear was more powerful than any grammar lesson. From that day on, I started helping others with this mistake. I told them, try this exercise. Every morning, make one I'm sentence and one my sentence. Say them slowly. Write them down. I'm hungry. My lunch is ready. I'm busy. My phone is off. I'm learning. My English is improving. Soon these sentences start to live inside you, not as rules, but as natural language, like water you drink, like air you breathe. I realized something else too. The mistake I made, a student, wasn't a big grammar crime. It was a signal, a gentle push, a reminder that English is not just about words, it's about connection, about clarity, about feeling heard. And when you learn something small and use it well, people don't just understand you, they respect you. So if you've ever said, my happy, or I'm book, please don't be hard on yourself. It's not the end. It's the beginning of better awareness, better speaking, and better confidence. Your voice matters, and when your words are clear, your heart feels safe. I know this because I felt it. with one short sentence, said softly but surely, "I'm a teacher. My name is Laura." That was the day I stopped guessing and started speaking. Chapter 4. Forgetting the question word, how you speak English, became, do you speak English? It was a normal afternoon. I was in a small store trying to ask for help. I saw someone who looked friendly. I walked up and asked, "You speak English?" He looked at me, not angry, not rude, just confused. He didn't answer right away. He tilted his head like he was waiting for me to say more. I repeated, "You speak English?" This time he smiled gently and said, "Do I speak English?" "Yes, I do." His voice was kind, but inside me, I felt something, like I had dropped the ball at the final moment. That moment stayed with me all day. I kept hearing it in my mind. "You speak English?" It didn't feel wrong when I said it, but it didn't feel complete either. Later that evening, I opened my grammar book. I looked at question structures, and there it was, clear and simple. English questions need helping words. Do, does, did. These small words hold up the whole question. Without them, it sounds broken, like a bridge with no middle. I had said, "You speak English?" But what I needed to say was, "Do you speak English?" That one word, do, made all the difference. It turned my sentence from a guess into a real question, from a confused pause into a clear conversation. So I decided to practice, but not with long, boring exercises. I used flashcards. One side had an answer. The other side, I wrote the question. Card 1. Yes, I like tea. Flip. Do you like tea? Card 2. Yes, he plays cricket. Flip. Does he play cricket? Card 3. No, I don't eat meat. Flip. Do you eat meat? It became a small game, and the more I played it, the more natural it felt. I also used a mirror. I stood in front of it and asked myself questions. Not big ones, just simple, daily things. Do I want coffee? Do I have homework? Do I feel tired? And I answered too. Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. At first it felt strange, but soon it felt like a real conversation. Me and my reflection, learning to ask and answer. There was one more trick I found. I call it reverse questions. If you already know the answer, try to turn it into a question. For example, if you say, "I like pizza," pause for 1 second, then ask, "Do I like pizza?" If you say, "He plays guitar," ask, "Does he play guitar?" This small switch helped my brain understand the structure better. It wasn't just about asking, it was about learning the rhythm of English. Then one day something special happened. I was in a cafe. I wanted to know if the barista spoke English. I took a deep breath and said, "Do you speak English?" She smiled and said, "Yes, a little." That was it. No confusion, no pause, just a clear answer. And inside me, something lit up. It was a small sentence, but it opened a door. That was my spike moment. It wasn't just about grammar. It was about building connection. A question is not just a sentence. It's a bridge, a way to cross from your world into someone else's. And if you forget the first step, the helping word, the bridge doesn't reach the other side. That day, I felt something new. Power. Not power over others, but power to connect, power to ask clearly, power to begin a conversation without fear. And here's what I want you to know. You don't need long questions. You don't need perfect grammar. You just need to build the bridge. Do you like movies? Does he work here? Do we have time? Small questions. Big change. If you've ever said, "You want coffee?" or "He like music?" don't feel bad. You are close. Very close. Just one word away. Add do. Add does. And suddenly your question becomes a gift, an open hand, a chance to speak and be heard. English isn't about showing how smart you are. It's about making yourself understood. And questions are the start of that journey. Every "do you" is a new path. Every "does he" is a new window. And every time you ask with clarity, you grow stronger. So ask. Again and again, in your room, in the mirror, with friends, with strangers. Ask without fear, because your question might be the start of a new answer, a new smile, a new connection, and maybe even a new you. Chapter 5. Overusing very, how I found stronger words. For a long time, very was my favorite word in English. It was easy. It was safe. I said it everywhere. Very nice. Very cold. Very happy. It felt like a magic word that made everything sound better. But over time, I noticed something. My English started to feel flat, repeated, like a song with only one note. I wanted to express more, but I didn't know how. Then one day, my English teacher stopped me gently after class. She smiled and said, "Your speaking is improving, but try something for me. Instead of saying very tired, say exhausted. Instead of very cold, say freezing." At first, I nodded politely, but inside, I felt a little nervous. New words felt big, heavy, too advanced. I thought, what if I say them wrong? What if people don't understand? But that night, I sat with a notebook and wrote down her words. Exhausted, freezing, delicious, thrilled, enormous. They looked beautiful, powerful, like jewels on the page. Each one had a feeling inside it. I read them again and again. I whispered them softly. Thrilled, freezing, delicious. These were not just very happy or very cold. They were more. They were full. I decided to make a list. Just 5 words. Not too many. I called it my strong words list. Each week I picked one word and used it in my sentences. Week 1, exhausted. Every time I felt tired, I said, "I'm exhausted." At home, with friends, in front of the mirror. I'm exhausted. It felt strange at first, but slowly it felt true. Then came the spike moment. I was talking to someone after class. She asked, "How are you?" I smiled and said, "I'm exhausted." I didn't sleep well. She looked surprised, then said, "Good word." That small sentence, that simple praise, it made my heart jump. Not because she liked my grammar, but because she saw my effort. She heard me trying, and that made me feel proud. After that, I wanted more, not to impress people, but to express myself. I didn't want to say very hungry. I wanted to say starving. I didn't want to say very big. I wanted to say huge or enormous. Each new word felt like a new color, a way to paint my thoughts better. My sentences didn't become longer, they became stronger. I still kept very in my pocket. It's not a bad word, but I used it less. I used it when I needed it, and I replaced it when I could. Slowly, my vocabulary grew, not because I memorized hundreds of words, but because I focused on a few and used them well. Here's what helped me. I made word pairs. Instead of very cold, I wrote freezing. Instead of very happy, I wrote thrilled. Instead of very small, I wrote tiny. And then I made a sentence for each one. I forgot my jacket. It's freezing outside. She passed her exam. She's thrilled. My room is tiny, but I love it. Saying these out loud helped me feel the word. It wasn't just vocabulary, it was expression. I didn't just sound better, I felt better. I felt more alive in my English. The emotional spike came one day when I used 3 strong words in one conversation. A friend asked me about my trip. I said, "The hotel was spotless, the food was delicious, and the view was breathtaking." He listened quietly, then said, "Your English is beautiful." I almost cried, not because of the praise, but because I had finally found the words that matched my feelings. So if you use very all the time, don't worry. I did too. But maybe it's time to try something new. Just one word, one color, one new way to show how you feel. Pick one strong word this week. Use it. Play with it. Say it aloud. Feel its shape in your mouth. Let it live in your story. Because English isn't just about rules. It's about voice. And when you choose the right word, your voice shines. Chapter 6. Thinking in my language. The mistake that always made me slow. I used to sit in class, trying to speak, and my brain would get stuck. Not because I didn't know English, but because I was thinking in my own language first. I would hear a question like, "What did you do today?" And instead of answering directly, I would stop. In my mind, I would build the sentence in my native language. Mein aj derse uta. Then I would start translating. Today, late, woke. It didn't sound right. I'd try again. I woke up, late. My voice was slow. My words felt broken. And by the time I finished, the conversation had moved on. This happened every day, every sentence. My thoughts came in one language, but I needed to speak in another. And that gap, that space between languages, was where I got lost. I knew the words, but I couldn't use them fast enough. I felt like a swimmer stuck between 2 boats. I didn't know where to hold on. One day, I was talking with a classmate. I wanted to say something simple. I woke up late today, but again, I stopped to translate. I spoke slowly. I broke the sentence into parts. My classmate listened patiently, then said, "Try not to think in your language, just say what you see." That sentence hit me. It stayed in my head. Say what you see. Not translate. Just speak. That night, I thought about it deeply. I opened my notebook and wrote down 5 sentences I say every day. I am hungry. I am tired. I need to go. I don't understand. I will try again. I didn't write them in my language. I only wrote them in English. I looked at them again and again. I read them out loud, slowly, then faster, then with my eyes closed. I wanted them to live inside me, not as translations, but as real thoughts. I also started noticing sentence patterns. English has a rhythm, a shape, subject plus verb plus object. I eat breakfast. She plays piano. They go to school. I made simple sentences like these every day, 10 a day. No dictionary, no translation, just what I could build with what I knew. At first, I made mistakes, many, but I didn't stop. I told myself, mistakes mean you are building. I looked at signs on the street. I made sentences in English. I talked to myself when I was walking. I am walking to the store. It is hot today. I need to buy eggs. It felt strange, but slowly, something changed. One morning I woke up and thought, I'm late. Just like that. No translation, no pause, just English. I stopped and smiled. That was the spike moment, a full sentence, from my mind, in English, natural, simple, fast. I didn't translate. I didn't build it piece by piece. It just came. That moment changed everything. I realized English is not just something I study, it's something I can think in. That thought gave me freedom. It made me faster, braver, more confident. I started thinking in English more and more, not all day, not perfectly, but enough to feel the difference. The emotional spike came when I had a conversation, 2 whole minutes, without switching to my language in my head. I talked about my weekend, my favorite food, my plans. It wasn't advanced English, but it was real, and I felt proud. Not because I used hard words, but because my brain was learning a new path, a new way to speak, a new way to live. If you're always translating in your head, I understand you. I was there too. But here's what I learned. Translation slows you down. It builds a wall. But when you start thinking in English, the wall becomes a window, a door, a way forward. Start with small steps. Learn real phrases. Don't just study rules, live the patterns. Speak to yourself. Think in short lines. Repeat them. Make them part of your daily life. Over time, you will stop translating. You will start thinking. And when you do, that's when English becomes more than a language. It becomes part of you. Now you've seen my journey, my small mistakes, my quiet corrections, and my growing confidence. If even one chapter helped you feel more understood, please do 4 small things. Like this video comment and tell me, what English mistake do you make the most? Subscribe to my channel for more warm, simple, real English stories like this. Share this video with someone who needs to know small mistakes don't mean big failure. And remember, mistakes are not the enemy. They are the beginning of better sentences, clearer speech, and a braver you. You can speak well. You just need to begin with awareness, with kindness, and with one small fix at a time.